If you're a fan of medieval history, you know times were tough and folks were held to high moral standards, both by the law and the church. What you may not know is animals were held to high standards too. And a look at the trials of some of the animals who broke the laws is downright crazy.
Let's dig into this.
Warning, viewer discretion advised.
It may seem absolutely bonkers to us nowadays, but from the early 9th century onwards, animals were often arrested and stood trial for breaking the laws or disturbing the peace of the realm. The records that have survived over the centuries give a glimpse into the legal system of the time. Accused animals and insects were assigned legal counsel and given a trial just like any other accused criminal. They're also a reminder of the power of religion in the era, as many cases were decided in ecclesiastical courts before civil court systems were created.
Cases include plagues of insects and even rats ordered to leave towns by a certain time and date. Horses, cows, bulls, donkeys, eels, and sheep were executed for crimes. There are records of dolphins being executed, but the details of their crime have not survived. Birds were even charged for making noise during church services. But pigs were prosecuted most often, probably both because of the incredible number of swine in Europe at the time and the fact that pigs aren't nice. We'll get to that in a second, and fair warning, it's quite nasty.
Snails, caterpillars, locusts, and other insects were often a problem. In 1545, weevils attacked the grapevines in St. Julian, France, and caused so much destruction a call was put out for public prayers to drive them away. Apparently it worked, but they returned in 1587 and the town took them to court this time. Their defense lawyer argued that weevils were just doing what weevils do and had a natural God-given right to eat.
The prosecution argued that grape growers also had rights, and the weevils, as animals, were created subordinate to man. Since both arguments seemed valid, a compromise was reached. Incredibly, the town set aside land where the weevils could eat to their heart's content without destroying important crops. It would take 8 months for a judge to decide the case, and the final documents have been lost, but it appears the weevils may have been satisfied. There are no records of them being charged again.
Of course, if we're talking about beasts, there will always be cases which involved, let's put this delicately, unnatural acts with animals, and there were a surprising number of them. In the famous 1750 Ferron case, Jacques Ferron and a female donkey called a Jenny were accused of an unnatural relationship. At trial, members of the community submitted written documents stating they had known the Jenny for years, and she had always been virtuous and well behaved. While Ferron was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging, the Jenny was found to be a victim of a violent crime and completely innocent. Lucky for her, because in many of those cases, the guilty would be burned to death.
There are an amazing number of cases against pigs, who were known to bite and even eat ears, noses, and fingers, and were often accused of killing children. Like we mentioned earlier, pigs are not very nice animals. One pig was brought to trial for eating a child on a Friday, a meatless day in the church and therefore a doubly serious offense. Another was hung for stealing and eating a consecrated wafer from a church.
In a 1457 case in France, a sow was caught in the act of murdering a 5-year-old boy, with her 6 piglets nearby. Incredibly, the pig's owner was accused only of negligence, but the pig and piglets went on trial for murder. The pig was found guilty and sentenced to hang by her hind legs, a custom of the area. When no one could prove the piglets actually participated in the murder, even though they were covered in blood, they were found not guilty.
In 1379, 2 herds of pigs owned by a monastery were agitated, with 3 pigs in such a frenzy that they killed a man. Although there is no record of how this happened, all of the pigs were rounded up and accused of murder. Prosecutors argued that the pigs that did not physically attack the man were also guilty because by their shrieks and actions, they egged the murderers on and showed their support. At trial, all were found guilty and sentenced to death. The prior of the monastery, knowing they could not afford to lose 2 whole herds of pigs, pleaded for a pardon for all but 3 of the pigs identified as the attackers. The pardon was eventually granted, and the 3 murderous pigs were either hung or burned to death.
And in 1494, after a pig strangled and defaced a child in a cradle, it was sentenced to be mangled and maimed before being dressed in a jacket and breeches and hung from the gallows in the market square.
Sometimes myth and legend played a part, like the time a rooster was put on trial in 1474 for the crime of laying an egg. As we all know, roosters don't lay eggs. When the townspeople found out about this unnatural event, they came to the conclusion it was the devil's work. They were afraid the egg would produce a cockatrice, a mythical 2-legged dragon with a rooster's head that would destroy the whole town. We assume the egg was destroyed along with the rooster.
While putting animals on trial for crimes may be a crazy idea to us today, the most amazing part of these bizarre stories is the way the accused were treated. They were not hunted down by angry mobs and slaughtered like we would imagine. They were treated like any other criminal, and even had the chance to be judged innocent in a court with representation. A pretty modern concept.
And just so we don't forget that strange things happen in more modern times too, a brown bear named Katya was found guilty of mauling 2 people in 2 separate incidents in 2004 in Kazakhstan. She served a 15-year prison sentence before being released.
Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you on the next one. Hey, here's another DragonDen video you might like.
And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button.
And you can hit the notification bell if you'd like to know when our videos come out.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.